Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Sheffield United Way. It's absolutely fantastic to be back. I've been off for a week doing family things, so it's great to be back. Hal and Ollie held the fort absolutely superbly and got us a win in the week too. So in today's FA Cup quarter-final match preview, you will get Sheffield United and Blackburn team news ahead of Sunday's 12 p.m. kickoff at Bramall Lane. So Mothering Sunday is actually Blades in Sunday. No, that don't work at all. Forget I ever said that. Also, we'll have last time out player connections and wait until the end for our score predictions. Now, before I bring Ollie in, I just want to say, if you've been waiting for the Travelling Blade podcast all week, I am very, very sorry. I've literally just changed it about half an hour ago because we needed to do this match preview because it's a massive game. But Travelling Blade fans, you will see that on Monday at 7 p.m, that will be coming out. It's a very, very good interview with Hal and Travelling Blade, and I have edited it, so I will know. Anyway, let's bring in Ollie. How you doing, mate? Welcome to the video.
Yes, no, thank you very much, Nick. I'm very much looking forward to this. Now that work's finished, I think the nerves have just hit me about obviously preparing for the game, not playing tomorrow and having to sit through other teams playing on that Saturday. I think is going to be more nervy than it usually would be. Oh, but we'll be all right, and I'm looking forward to it. How was your week? How have you enjoyed your break?
It's been fantastic. It's I don't think I really mentioned that I was going away. I've been to Butlins for the first time ever, taking the little lad and a few friends and family and stuff like that. But the funny thing was, when I was doing the match, kind of like the image on Twitter afterwards, it said at the bottom from Ingemels, and I thought, that's going to confuse people massively. It really is. But that's where I was. That's the reason why that said that, if anyone noticed that at all. But yeah, I had a fantastic week, mate. I've been back a fair few hours and I'm absolutely shattered. But anyway, if you've ever driven to Ingemels or Skeggy or whatever, it's not a very nice drive. It's all on like B roads. There's not many. We went on the motorway on the way there for some reason, which took us 20 miles out of where we were going. But yeah, on the way back, took all like the B roads and stuff like that. It's not for me. It's not for me. Motorway all the way. Anyway, how have you been?
Yes, no, not bad at all. Oh, just enjoyed a nice win. I was terrible at the start of the week. Monday, Tuesday, foul mood. Yeah. But from Wednesday onwards, I don't know what changed, but I've been a much nicer person to be around.
Yeah, I can imagine. Same here as well. Now you've brought it up, let's talk about the last game. And we obviously went and beat Sunderland in their own backyard 2-1, coming from behind for the second time this season. And to say that we're second in the league, you'd have thought we'd have done that a few more times. But it was great to see. It was a terrible goal to concede. Just everybody leaving. The lad, I can't even say his name, to be honest. Where I was watching the game in Butlins, it was all the Liverpool games everywhere, and I had this little tiny TV in the corner, so there was no sound or anything. But it was a fantastic finish from the lad. But we managed to get ourselves back into the game through a fantastic run and finish from James McAtee, and then let's not talk too much about that free kick from Doyle. Fantastic ball in, but I think the ref and the linos have done us a little bit of a solid one there. Because, but the thing is, Jebo could have had a broken leg. Let's be honest. Like, it was an absolutely horrendous tackle that most people that aren't Sheffield United fans are saying, yeah, that's a fair yellow. It was an absolutely shocking tackle. What did you think, Ollie?
Oh, it's an absolute shocker, honestly. As I watched it, I was sat there because I've got a group chat with lots of fans of other teams, and I immediately was like, come on, how has he not sent him off? And everybody else, don't know what you mean. What are you talking? You can't just dive in at somebody about halfway up the shin. It's an absolute shocker of a tackle. But of course, that wasn't the real crime of the day, Nick. You all know that going in at somebody, scything them down halfway up, maybe even higher than that up their shin, that's all fine. But what you can't do, what you must never do, is dare to say to the ref, excuse me, I think that might have been a red card, because then you're a thug, you're a bunch of mugs, you should all be sent off, they should cancel the game.
That is funny. And do you know what? All of these things I miss because of having no sound. And obviously I've caught up on a bit of the Don Goodman show. It wasn't Sheffield United against Sunderland. It was the Don Goodman show. And what else made me laugh is where the one at the back post where Sanders' arm is out and he heads it against his arm from about this far. And then Don Goodman says, if this VAR, if that's in the Premier, if that's in the Champions League, that's given as a penalty. I'm like, what about the horrendous tackle in the first half? That if there was VAR, surely that would have been given as a red.
Not even just that. Obviously, on that Sander Berg one, it deflects as well. It's not just headed straight at his hand; it deflects off his body onto his hand. So even in the Champions League, they're not giving that as a bloody red card or a penalty. It's just not a thing. No. Yeah, they got right on my nerves, to be honest.
Everybody though, like, I saw a Twitter account from Referee Mistakes or something like that, and he said, "Oh, shocking decision. Sanderberg has got his arm above his head." I literally watched it back and I'm like, I'm sure he hasn't. And then I took a screenshot of it and he wasn't. His arm's like down here and it hits it. It's like that when you're jumping up, that is a legitimate position for your arm to be. Anyway, let's ignore it. We won. We've care.
Got really annoyed about this, Nick. Like, we've really gone in. I, as a counterpoint, I might potentially be meeting Don Goodman on Monday at a shoot for Liga 72 in London. So actually, maybe I need to just take a moment, think it through.
I feel like you're a bottle job if you don't ask him what was going through his head.
Shall I just 2-foot him at Shin Eye and see what he thinks?
He'll probably say that was a good challenge.
Good challenge. But he
nothing more than a yellow.
The ref. We'll never complain to the ref about it.
Yeah, definitely not. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about this game. Or actually, let's talk about the last time we played against Blackburn Rovers.
Yeah, so of course we have played them since this game. We played them away a few weeks ago and they beat us, and I thought they kept us at arm's length pretty well in that game, but that's not what we're focusing on. We're focusing on the last time that we played Blackburn Rovers at Bramall Lane, and let's be honest, this was an absolute bloodbath. United won 3-0 and that flattered Blackburn something ridiculous. United started the game like house on fire. We went close very early on. An Anel header just wide. McBurney had one kicked off the line. And then we finally took the lead. Ollie Norwood scored an absolute beaut of a free kick. Just completely wrong foots the keeper. Makes him look like a little bit of a mug. Just a really, really lovely goal. Second half, it was just more of the same. Just complete United domination. McBurney missed one one-on-one. He missed another one-on-one. And I think this was the game before Luton. So this was very much the absolute peak of Ollie McBurney won't score for Sheffield United. And then, of course, he got one in the next game and went on a fantastic run. But he probably should have had a hat-trick here, and that run should have started a few games earlier. And Jai eventually made it 2-0. A shot from Sanderberg just deflected off his backside as he was stood in front of the keeper. And then Njai made sure of the win with an absolute banger of a goal. And I think this is our goal of the season. I'm going to say it now. I'm going early. This is goal of the season because he wins the ball back himself. He wins the ball in our half, just runs and runs and runs. He beats two men. He cuts on his left foot, curls it in off the post. It's just a fantastic goal. Oh, go and watch it again, all of you, right now. In fact, not right now. Wait till this is finished, then go and watch it again because it's an absolute beaut of a goal. But honestly, Nick, watching these highlights back, how this game only finished 3-0 is insane. I looked at the XG. It's 3.44 to United to 0.1 for Blackburn. Like, they had one shot. It was honestly insane. They got absolutely pummeled. I forgot how good we were 6 months ago because it was insane.
Yeah, we really were. We really were. And that you brought up XG whilst I was watching the game with my sister and my wife. My wife asked, what does XG stand for? And I said, extremely good goals, even though that'd be XGG. Thought it was a bit funny. And she believes me completely.
In that case, the XG for our game against Blackburn was 1-0 because Njai scored an extremely good goal.
Yeah. I want to quickly just go through a couple of the comments that I missed. We are doing a watch along on Sunday. It will be Robert and the main man, Chad. Also, want to give a big shout out to Noah, who I sat next to for the Luton game. Obviously, we don't bring each other luck, but Noah does bring us luck when he goes away to the northeast. So sounds like he had an absolutely fantastic day, and I'm really glad that he did that. He also did a vlog, which I quite enjoyed. I was on it. I was stood in the background, and then he just walks forward. I'm like, oh, I thought he was going to ask me a question or say something to me. So it just looked like a bit of a muppet. And the other thing that I was going to bring up on screen was, if I can find it, it was about the kind of finances that's just come out, the Daily Mail. But I'll be honest, Ollie, I don't know about you, but I've not read it yet. I was just getting ready for this stream, so I don't know if you've got any thoughts on it.
I have read it, and, part of it is really concerning, and it is worrying, and I understand why for United fans it's going to be a really big point of contention at the moment, and it's going to just add to those concerns we've got about part of the ownership structure at the moment. Now, from what I've read about it, it seems like a lot of Daily Mail clickbait, in all honesty. They talk about us not putting fertilizer down because we're trying to save money. They talk about us not using the undersoil heating. Now, Hecky, I think, has addressed the undersoil heating problem. I think they've said before that we've not been using it at the training ground because we got the ground installed too late, so we weren't able to use it. Now, maybe that's an excuse. I don't know. But obviously, it's things that have come up previously. What I would say is take it with a pinch of salt for now. I saw Darren Smith on Twitter came out to say that he felt that it was nonsense. Really, I think his words were, we're skint, but we're not that skint. So certainly something to keep an eye on, something to potentially just keep in the back of our minds. But at the moment, not something that I'm putting too much weight into.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just try and forget it. We've got a lot more pressing things that we need to worry about right now than about the finances of the club. We can't do anything about that unless you've got tons of money that you want to give to the prince. Anyway, let's move on from that. I just want to give a big shout out to Portland Oregon Blade. Met him at the greatest bar in the world, Indigo Resurrection Bar. We will be there also on Sunday morning, trying to get a couple of beers in before the big game. Obviously, it's really early, but met him. He's an absolutely top guy, but unfortunately only had the chance to meet him for a couple of minutes because I was running off. But no, great guy. I'm so glad I met him, and hopefully we'll meet him again in the future as well as everybody else. Now, let's move on to talking about team news and predicted lineup. That is me, so I'll make myself bigger, and I will talk to you guys about kind of what happened in the Sunderland game again, because we had two players that came off injured. I didn't know that Jebbo was injured at the time, but he's not trained since that shocking tackle. I don't know whether it's just Hecky making a point of saying it was a really shocking tackle. He's injured, but I don't know if he is. We'll have to see. But he hasn't trained since. He doesn't sound like it's massively as much of a problem as what it could be. But McAtee is another one of those that is not a bigger problem as what we probably expected. It was just a bit of cramp from McAtee, but he did come off. He did look in pain, but that's cramp for you, isn't it? Like it does feel horrible at the time, but it's gone pretty quickly. Also, one of those that's coming back, Ender Stevens, just in a full session on the grass, as Hecky always likes to say. Right now, we could do with him back, to be honest, because Norrington Davis and Osborne both currently injured. So having him as a bit of a backup, because as you can see on screen right now, I've gone for Max Lowe yet again. I've gone for Anel coming out just to make sure we don't have any injuries to him. I know we've got an international break coming up. I just don't want to see Anel get injured. I've swapped Bogle for Baldock just because Baldock played just a couple of days ago and he is still coming back from injury. I'd much rather see Baldock in there, to be perfectly honest. But I just feel like we need to kind of keep changing it up a little bit because we don't want to get any injuries. We don't want to... At the end of the day, we've been playing 2 games a week for ages. So that's why I've also brought Norwood back in. I just think that Norwood, he's been our best player this season. The stats tell us. So I'd like to see Norwood come back in. Doyle stays in there for me 100%. I've left Illiman out again just because he's played so much football recently, and he came on against Spurs and absolutely battered him. So I'd like to see that again. I don't know whether, Ollie, you tell me. I don't know whether Hecky's going to go for wholesale changes, a few changes like what I've gone for, or just same team. You're shaking your head. I don't know what that means
No,
until you speak. Go for it.
I know. I have to admit, Nick, that team's not got me sold. I think we're keeping more of the first team in than that. I would be
Is
very
in the
shocked.
team that played Sunderland?
Yes, I think, because what I'm thinking is, we're now this close to Wembley. This is quarter-final of the FA Cup. And I understood against Wrexham, I would have played the reserves. Against Tottenham, I would have played the reserves. But I think now that we're this close to being able to go and potentially do something that's really special for United fans, I don't know how far back you have to go for us to potentially win a game at Wembley. But for example, you win this one and you get the winner of Brighton against Grimsby. There's an opportunity there at the very least. And I don't think that's something we'd really want to throw away. So I'm expecting to see quite a bit of the first team. I think Baldock will stay in. I think
Wait, do you not think that this team can beat Blackburn?
I'm not saying I don't think they can beat Blackburn. I'm saying I don't think that'll be the team we play anyway. What worries me as much as anything is those two wing-backs. So when we played Blackburn away, the thing that really damaged us was they had Dolan and they had Sorba Thomas pushing really wide, and they got in behind Lowe and Bogle time and time again. And it's where we saw their goal come from, in that their left-back's the one who scored it, because his intensity to get forward compared to Bogle's directness to get back was just completely different. I think Baldock in that position potentially means that we don't concede that goal. So a team like this, who are so strong on the wings with so much pace, I would expect to see Baldock in. If Stevens was fully fit, I would also be tempted to put him back in as well. But obviously we know that's potentially not the case. But that's what worries me most about that team.
I don't know. I feel like we need to mollycoddle Baldock a little bit, because we need him. We need, like you said, I think the thing is, when we're playing away from home and we have Bogle and Lowe flying forward, that is never good. But at home, I don't know. I just feel like we'll have more of the ball. I feel like they will try and get us on the break again. I think it'll be similar to the away leg. Yeah. I just feel like, I don't know, our attacking players got too much for them.
I think if we're playing, I think one of the things to bear in mind is that you might be right on Bogle, but I think if Bogle's going to play, it's got to be Onel who sits in next to him, just because I think some of that defensive security that we're worried about, maybe he can sort of combat that. We saw Basham play away at Blackburn. He wasn't able to stop Dolan, for example, coming in down that side. So maybe if Onel comes in, we can see Bogle keeping that spot. But yeah, if he's fit enough, I would prefer it to be Baldock for a game like this.
That's fair enough, mate. That's completely fair enough. Now let's move on to talking about Blackburn for a second, shall we?
Yes, indeed. So, of course, I've just talked about some of their key men, but let's first of all talk about them who I'm not expecting to see this weekend. I believe Bradley Dack, Daniel Ayala, Harvey Vale, and Thomas Kaminski are all still out injured. Sorba Thomas, who was just referenced a moment ago, is cup-tied after he played for Huddersfield in the cup earlier this season. But I do think for the most part, we're going to see a very similar team to what we played against a couple of weeks ago. And the one change coming in for Sorba Thomas is quite a big name man who we might have some concerns about. So I think it'll look something like Ainsley Piers in their net. I think they'll have the back four again of Joe Rankin Costello, Hayden Carter, Dominic Hyam, and then Harry Pickering, who again scored that goal against us at their place. I think the midfield will be Lewis Travis and John Buckley, with a attacking midfield three of Tyrese Dolan, Sammy Smodics, and then Ben Brereton Diaz being the man who will come in to replace the cup-tied Sorba Thomas. And then Sam Gallagher at centre forwards. Now, Hal shouted at me last time, so I'm not going to say it this time, but there is some goals in that front three. Brereton Diaz coming in for Sorba Thomas is interesting.
Stop it. We know that there's loads of pace and loads of goals in Blackburn, but they are an extremely inconsistent side. So yeah, let's see what happens in this game. I think you will. I want a bit of Roy's view from, to be honest, Ollie. So do you want to give me some?
Yeah, I will give you some, because this one, for those who haven't been able to go to roysviewfrom.com and check this one out, I would say it's worth it because we've got some very interesting comments coming from the Blackburn fans. I've just got a little bit of a sample for you just to give you a little bit of a taste of what that looks like. So we'll start off with one that's semi-respectful, Nick. This is a complete toss-up, possibly our first game this season where two good sides will really turn up. The travelling support should completely neutralise home advantage.
Okay.
Okay, it's a big shout for their away fans, but fair enough, they might be classic.
I'm so excited for the next one.
And then the next one. They were well beaten at ours a couple of weeks ago. Their manager is a jumped-up wannabe hard man passion merchant. Play like a non-league side and give the ball to Njai or Berger seems to be the extent of his tactical prowess. Certainly not expecting him to totally outfox John Dahl-Thomason or have us worked out. We just have nothing to fear. Play to the best of our ability with a loud away end behind us and all the pressure on them. We really have a great chance.
Wow.
Any thoughts, Nick?
Well, I want to know what Hecky's done to them. I know that I've read a few more of the comments, so we'll get onto that in a bit. But why? What's Hecky done to, like? He's not. I can understand if it were Forrest when he smashed the ball into Jed Spencer's stomach. I could understand it where he booted the board. I can't remember who he played again. Who were playing? Who were that? Middlesbrough. Yeah, of course it were. Third goal, I think it was. So I could understand those teams saying that he's a jumped up whatever. But Blackburn, but what did he do?
I've got no idea. And that leads us lovely into this next one. Dirty team. I expect Rovers to come away with a lot of bruises. Will be another tough match. And I can't stand that Thunderbird puppet of a manager.
I see it. I do see it a bit because I think it's just he's got such a Thunderbird looking head and hair. It's just everything's just quite perfect. For a man of his age, I'm not saying that he's an old man, but for a man of his age, he looks really good. And I think he just looks a bit too perfect sometimes. Yes, I've got a crush on Hecky. I'm sorry.
trying to get my head around the logic that went from he looks too perfect, just like a Thunderbird. I'm not quite tying them together, Nick.
Well, you'd make a puppet perfect, wouldn't you? You wouldn't make it with flaws like a balding head or a big stomach, would you? Do you know what I mean? True. That's what I'm trying to get at anyway.
Well, really, it's a compliment. You're welcome. Just so you know, thank you to the Blackburn fans. We appreciate it. Meth then has rightly called you out. So let's see what else we've got here. There is no other club in the Premier League down to League Two who, for so long, which started on day one of the Wilder reign, have so many basic thugs in any match day starting team. They are, I think, to be honest, I think we know who wrote this one. And I think they gave themselves away with this next line. They are also at the forefront of surrounding and pressuring refs.
Don Goodman, 100%. Well, I don't get the first game of Wilder's reign. It wasn't against Blackburn. Were they in the crowd when we played our first game under Wilder?
I mean,
they know that was in League One, right?
It was Bolton in League One, weren't it?
Yeah, it was Bolton. Jay Spearing scored.
Blackburn routinely off to watch Bolton, just sat in their stands like, "Hey, Bolton away day." Look,
do you know what, though? I was thinking about this. We were quite thuggy against Sunderland, to be honest. We got stuck, especially that last 10, 15 minutes. Norwood in the Premier League probably would have been sent off to what he did to Luke O'Nien, where he just flew through him, won the ball, was up here, like almost up here. But we were quite thuggy, I thought. And deep down, I don't want us to be that thuggy side, but even deeper down, I kind of do. Yeah. Because teams like this get promoted. They really do. Teams that are too nice don't, unless you are so good, like Burnley, that nobody can touch you. You kind of need to have that little bit of an edge. And I like that we've got that.
Yeah, I do as well. And I think it's very much the kind of thing that gets crowd up for you as well, doesn't it? You see a nice crunching tackle and you think, yeah, that's what it's all about. So the last one of our quick run through some of the voice comments is a very nice one to end on. Not sure how many times we've played Sheffield United in the FA Cup, but we haven't beaten them in 126 years.
I'm sure you could have got a better one than that. I'm sure you could have used a few more shocking ones because they hate us for whatever reason. They hate us. And actually, I can only think of maybe 3 or 4 teams that I really, really don't like. Forest, West Ham, Wednesday, Leeds. I'm not going to go anymore. I don't think there's anyone else that I've got an actual hatred for. I don't.
Depends if you mean from a United perspective or just a general perspective, because there's the standard ones who everybody hates, your Man U's, your Liverpool's. You've got to stick them in.
But I don't care enough about them.
Perspective.
Yeah, I don't care enough about Man United and Liverpool and those sorts of teams. We've never really had that much of a strong rivalry against them. But yeah, there's only 4 that, and everyone every week seems to hate us for some reason.
We must do something to upset people. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Maybe studying people at the top of the thighs, possibly. But
well, yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Grow up.
Grow up, exactly. So, referee Ollie, give us the referee.
So you have got a job, Nick, because I did this with Hal the other day, and I forgot what a sigh sounded like. Just couldn't do it. I took an intake of breath and then completely forgot what came next and just sat there for 30 seconds looking at him. So, are you ready? The referee for Sunday's FA Cup quarter-final versus Blackburn is Tim Robinson. Oh, you see, it's like watching a master at work. So he's taken charge of 32 games this season, giving 119 yellows, 6 reds and 4 penalties. But this will be his first United match of the season, though it is also his 5th Blackburn game. For the first time this season, though, we do have VAR, and Paul Tierney is on VAR duty, a ref who I do not trust even a little bit, but I actually can't remember the context as to why.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. There's got to be something.
I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is, but Paul Tierney, as soon as I read the name, I was like, oh, God, this guy. Can't remember why.
No, fair enough. I'm glad you've brought up about the VAR because, it's a bit of a crazy one. Is this the first time we've had it in a championship stadium? It's got to be.
I imagine it's the first time in the country it's been in a championship stadium.
Yeah.
He said, losing confidence in himself. Yeah, I don't think we've done it before. I think we're the first ones.
Yeah, or I don't know if anyone's playing before us, so it could be somebody else this weekend. But
only Premier League teams at home.
Right, okay, fair enough. Yeah, so that's something that we've got. Obviously it's been at Bramall Lane before, but we're a Premier League team then.
Stick it on Honours board.
Yeah, get it on Honours board. Oh dear. Right, yeah. So score predictions. We obviously haven't done a score prediction video for this because it is the FA Cup after all. So exciting. Go for it, Ollie. What are you going to go for in this game?
I'm going for Sheffield United to win this game 3-1. I think United will go 2-0 up. Blackburn will come at us. They might score to make it 2-1. And then as they really, really push to try and equalise, we'll just kill the game on the break. Yeah, I think it's going to be a very, very good, fun, exciting afternoon at Bramall Lane for us all. And they're going to make up for what happened last week.
Yeah, I hope so, mate. I hope so. And like you said, we can go for it all guns blazing because we don't have a championship game for a while. So I've just gone for a 2-1 Blades win. I think it's going to go 1-0, 1-0, 2-1. I think it's going to be a late McBurney goal. Hopefully Jebo is playing in this game or at least coming on, because he had such a fantastic game. He's done that a couple of times where he's had a really good game and then got injured. So fingers crossed that he's available for this game, because I was really impressed by him. And I did say on Twitter, who knew that we had pace up top? Because obviously Illiman is quickish. He's not rapid, but he's quickish. But McBurney does a lot of things good. Running fast, not one of them. So the fact that we had such a kind of massive gap between midfield and Njai and McBurney, it was kind of like lob the ball up to them, let them do something, because the wing backs weren't doing their usual job. The Anel occasionally comes forward, occasionally doesn't. So in the last few weeks, I think when we don't win games of football, when we don't play well, it's when those two are stranded up front on their own and up against 4 or 5 defenders. So it was nice to see a bit of pace up top, getting forward. Illiman nearly scored a breakaway goal as well, which we worked really well against Sunderland. So yeah, we're actually excited. If we wouldn't have got, if we'd have lost against Sunderland, going from Luton to Sunderland, this would have been a really, really kind of, I think, morbid sort of match preview. So I'm glad it's not. I'm glad we're both buzzing, and I think we should leave it there. Make sure you like this video before you go later. Oh, no. Play connections.
Play connections.
Let's just run through them very, very quickly. Ollie, how many you got?
4.
You got 4?
Got 4. Got 4 for you. I don't know why these are the 4 that came to my mind, but these are the 4. Reda Kadra, obviously, we saw play for us earlier this season. Craig Short, who had a somewhat short-lived time at United and then moved to Ferencváros, which is fun. James Beattie, who came through at Blackburn, and then one that I haven't quite figured out if it counts or not, but he came through the Blackburn youth system, and that is Jack O'Connell.
Yep, counts. I'm going to say it counts. I always think I'm sure I've seen him in a Blackburn kit. So it may have been a cup game or something like that, because Wikipedia never shows you the cup games. It's always just the league games. So yeah, I'm definitely going to give you that. I've got a few more. Jordan Slew, obviously, famously or infamously sold to Blackburn for, I can't remember if it was 1 mil or 2 mil. 1 mil. I thought it was 1 mil, and I thought that doesn't sound a lot of money. That why would we accept that? But that was a good 10 years ago, I think. He was very, very good, and yeah, never made it at Blackburn. Mark Patterson also, we've recorded with him. We've recorded a podcast with him, so go and check that out. Nathan Blake, I believe, went the other way as well, because he did say that on the podcast. And finally, the greatest defender of all time, Mr. J. McEverley. What a legend.
Do you remember the times we had him taking corners? Do you remember those games?
I don't. I think I've burnt it out of my mind.
You should be so lucky. Although I do think we actually scored off one of his corners, but other than that, I just remember every time he'd trot over going, oh God, is it really McEverley? Is that what we're down to?
Let's be honest though, I think twice we've crossed, oh no, maybe just once, from a corner, he has handballed it. So let's not put him in the box ever. If he wants to be taking the corner, that's fine, as long as he's not handballing it and giving free kicks and penalties away. Anyway, I think we should leave it there. Thank you very much, Ollie, as always. And yeah, I will see you there at the match and see everybody else there. So fingers crossed the Blades can get to Wembley. We are 1 step away. Go on, the Blades.